Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to the first episode of Season 3 of Semi-Pro. I'm Dalton Barrett. Joining me today is a roundtable of guests from Daniel Savage to Joshua Clements and Bobbin Colin, maybe special appearance by Aitesam Farouk. I do not know. He's at least going to be watching the movie with us. Very excited for this episode because today we will be watching Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1990 as the very first episode of our Turtle Sweep.
All
right, boys. All right, boys. We are ready. He's just holding a vape with a wrench when I come back. I haven't seen anything for moments. Yeah. All right, boys. Today we're watching Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1990. What are our predictions going into this? I personally,
greatest films of all time.
I'm so excited for this. I really am.
Is a title in a trench coat.
It's a giant
Looks
title.
like a giant title.
This is technically title sweep, but I've titled it Turtle Sweep. That way people know what we're talking about. Right. But I'm so excited.
It's title sweep.
Yeah,
it's title sweep.
Genuinely, I'm so excited for this movie specifically. We're gonna do this one, Secret of the Ooze, and then Turtles 3, and then a special surprise at the end of the sweep. This is the one I'm excited for. The rest of them, take it or leave it. I like Secret of the Ooze enough. Turtles 3 is hot garbage.
Ice.
Right.
I've not seen Turtles 3, and I barely remember this one.
I was going to say, I don't think anyone but me and Bobbin have seen this movie in a very long time.
Yeah, I've binged all of them. Turtles 3 kind of slaps, even though it's like weird.
Aitesam, you're an idiot.
I watched this one.
The suits are weird, but I kind of like it.
Week.
It's quirky. It's quirky.
Yeah, so Bobbin watched it last week. I watched it probably 2 or 3 months ago. I made my wife sit through this movie. She saw this before she saw Knives Out.
At least.
This is
a good
Joshua
movie.
with the pizza.
This is probably one of my favorite comic book movies of all time.
Yeah.
And I will say that.
Hey, yo, Josh.
Josh munching on the pizza. All right, Josh, what are your predictions for this movie?
Your predictions for this movie you've seen?
Only Josh and Daniel.
He has a mouthful of pizza.
Only Josh and Daniel can give like accurate predictions for this because they're the only ones who haven't seen it in a long time.
I appreciate you asking me my prediction as I shove a full slice of pizza into my mouth.
Yeah, you're welcome. I also think it's funny the way you say pizza. You say pizza.
Right, you said the way they say title. Trench coat.
Yeah, pizza.
Hey, yo, the pizza here.
The pizza is here.
Okay, hold on. Let him cook. Let him speak.
Hey, let him cook. Good old-fashioned cult classic. Nice action, good comedy. People in giant rubber turtle suits. I'm excited.
My prediction is that they're and this is a long shot, but I have like a strange feeling that this movie is going to feature a giant title in a trench coat. But that's just me.
Stop.
I also want to say I think this movie might feature Sam Rockwell. No idea why.
Interesting.
As the lead thug.
That is a very interesting prediction.
I have a feeling there's gonna be some pizza involved.
I got a feeling. Woo.
Yeah, that's another thing that we should mention. That at least me and Bobbin, and I presume Daniel have pizza at the ready because I know it's gonna make me work.
Yeah.
You were on Discord with me when I went to pick it up from Domino's.
Well,
my
pizza
pizza's already in my belly. I'm the only one who's done with my pizza.
All right. This has gone on long enough. Let's pause it for just a second. We're gonna watch the movie. We'll be back here momentarily to talk about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2. No, talk about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1990. We'll see you here in.
Yo, they made a first one.
We'll see you here in just a second.
Wow, that was a fast movie.
All right, we're back. We just watched 1990s Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, not The Secret of the Ooze, not Turtles 2. Not Turtles in Time, not Karate Kangaroos. 1990s Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Spoiled it, Dalton.
The Megan Fox one, right?
Oh, come on. Yeah. The Stephen Amell one.
The one where Donatello's mouth opens and you can see a human face inside of it.
Right. You can see a mouth inside of his mouth.
The one where they talk like this because they're from New York and their titles they want pizza.
The one where there's a big title in a trench coat.
Correct. That is the one. Bobbin, why don't you break down the plot of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1994?
It's so funny you say that because I think I've done that almost every time I've been on the podcast, but I will still try my best regardless.
Yeah, you
every
should.
Time I've done it, it's been kind of awful. So I don't know why you ask, but I will try.
Because I'm in charge, so I just tell you what to do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because he's Leonardo.
Yeah, I'm Leonardo, the leader in blue. Oh, so we should probably clarify that before we get into the plot.
Yeah.
We have
because there's going to be a lot of references to that.
Yes, over the years that we have been friends, there are 4 of us, and extensions to that.
At the beginning.
Yeah. There were 4 of us at the beginning, right?
Yeah,
So
there
it
were only
was
4 of us here.
So at the beginning, there were 4 of us. It was me, Josh, Daniel, and Aitesam, and the 4 of us became known as the Ninja Turtles to each other, and we assigned different personalities. So, for instance, I became Leonardo. Josh became Donatello because he likes to.
He's a nerd.
He's a nerd. He likes computers. Daniel's consistently, chronically angry, and so he became Raphael, and then Aitesam being the goofier of us. Yeah, he became Michelangelo. We've since expanded. You know, we got some other friends, right? One of our buddies is Casey Jones, and Bobbin, being a they/them, is
No,
That's just
not true.
Hey, yo!
Bro just assigned him a new pronoun.
Bro changed his gender.
For a character, for Casey Jones.
No, he's April O'Neil.
It's because I transitioned from Casey Jones to April O'Neil.
Correct. Over the course of this discussion.
Over the course of this movie, I was like, I'd much rather
He's
be.
both.
I would much rather be April O'Neil.
No, we
Yes.
established Scooby is Casey.
Correct.
Now
correct.
I assigned Scooby O'Neil.
I would prefer
Subban.
Bobbin to be. I would prefer Bobbin to be April O'Neil because I like him.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
We know.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But yeah. So if you hear us refer to any of the Ninja Turtles as Dalton, Daniel, Josh, or Aitesam, it's because Aitesam. It's because we're. It's because it's because over the course of several years we have come to know each other as those turtles, and in this movie it was just so perfectly articulated to us that is true. Bobbin, explain the plot of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1990, The Secret of the Ninja Turtles.
Okay, so we open on a New Line Cinemas logo.
True. We did.
Bro.
This is their highest grossing movie, I think.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Wait, it wasn't Nightmare on Elm Street?
This was, at the time it was released, the highest grossing indie movie of all time. I don't know what is today, but this was when it came out.
Okay, so they're setting the mood. We have a bunch of nice shots of New York and the people walking around.
Hey, I'm walking it.
It's just like the scene from The Amazing Spider-Man. It was a Mark Webb reference.
Yeah.
And they're walking around. They're having a time. We see some April O'Neil on the TV, on the old TV, and she's like, "Hey man, ninjas and stuff,
turtles, bro,
and also turtles, and
They're like ninjas that are mutants,
right,
and also
then
turtles and teenagers.
I think immediately after that, we cut to her at the station as she walks out. To which the wonderful intro scene introduced
good intro scene, so fire.
Oh, it's so good.
Really good.
And the music is so... All right, everybody, at the same time, we're going to go to the music.
No, it's before that. I'm talking about that is an amazing bit. But the fight,
the dam scene.
Oh yeah,
The first dam scene.
Right.
The whisper dam.
Raph when he's throwing the sigh at the
light.
Basically,
He throws it at the light, and then it cuts to black, and you just hear like the
You hear the
punching and
cartooniest punch sound
Yeah.
effects you've ever heard.
You see a cloud of smoke go up, and occasionally people's heads and hands stick out of it.
Yeah. Right.
But basically, April is getting mugged outside her car, and she is saved by the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in the dark. And then we cut to We cut to that song.
Right.
The turtles are.
Dalton, David.
Stop.
Get there, Bobbin. I'm tired of doing this. My mouth hurts.
No.
You don't. No one's making you do it.
The bit's over.
The drink,
The bit is over.
the drink got him.
The bit is over. The bit is over.
But just get to the
The bit is
title
over.
so we can all do it together.
Okay. What's the line right before the title?
They're all saying like catchphrases. They're like
Yeah. What's-
righteous, bodacious.
It's Major League Butt Kicking is back in town.
Yeah, that's it. Yes. And then it goes da 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 da, and Josh dances like this, which nobody at home can
No one
see
can see, but we can see.
because this is an audio medium.
Yeah.
But yeah,
if you
so
want, if you want a reference to how I dance, look up Mac in the Dance Pound of Always Sunny season something.
Yeah, no one is gonna look that up.
No,
one
because
is
nobody's
gonna look that up.
listening.
No one's gonna watch
Yeah.
this, but that's fun.
and then it freeze frames on the logo, which comes around the corner, and it's got the registered trademark. Like, they just used the logo from the cartoon, which is hilarious to me. And then the freeze frame goes away, and then they all dance in the frame, and it goes.
Yeah, but there's also a cool little effect when the freeze frames ends on the little title, where it's like little psychedelic kind of thing.
Right as the title goes away, Leonardo jumps in the frame and he goes, "Righteous!"
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Righteous,
It's just lovely.
bodacious.
Totally tubular.
Daniel, yours sounds a lot like Garbage Day.
Garbage Day.
Oh, that's the crossover I need. Vicky versus the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Sewer Day, righteous.
Pizza Day.
All right, so what happens next?
All right. I can't be asked to do these plot breakdowns in this condition. In these conditions.
They're
in this
like
economy.
they're in this economy.
They're just walking through the sewer, and then they.
That's
get
where
back
you have to
their
live in
home.
today's economy.
You're right.
And
It's a $2,000 apartment in New York City.
which is in the sewers, and they meet up with Master Splinter, and they're like, "This is our first night kicking butt and doing that stuff," and they're all hooting and hollering,
Except
and
for
Master
Raph.
Splinter- except for
Raph-
Raph, but Master Splinter's like, Master Splinter is like,
he puts on his trench coat and he looks all angsty.
"Hold on,
and
hold on, we're gonna
Well,
get
Raph
there.
goes,
We're gonna
I lost the sigh. I lost the sigh.
angry." Right.
Okay, we're gonna what is Splinter's like giving his spill to the turtles, and
Yeah,
then
he's
they
telling them to like not be Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. You know, he's like just behave yourselves, you monsters.
Yeah.
They are monsters, let's be clear.
Correct.
They're giant turtles.
And also teenagers, and also mutants, and also ninjas,
Well,
and also
during
turtles.
this time of him trying
By
to
that I
tell
mean
them
titles
to-
in
during this
trench
time
coats.
of trying to tell them to be ninjas, Mikey wanders off and starts trying to order a pizza.
Yeah. No anchovies.
Which, you know, he
Don't you
comes
put
back to-
anchovies on that pizza.
He comes back to hear the whole spiel about you have to, you know, be ninjas or whatever. And then he goes and sits out by the grates to look up at the moon till the pizza gets delivered with Donatello, who Donnie's like, "Hey, do you think about what Master Splinter told us about there? Where he's like, hey, I'm going to die someday and you guys need to take care of yourself."
I was going to say, you forgot that part of Master Splinter's speech, but that is a big part.
He
That's
goes,
it's
"Man."
kind of the point.
He's like talking to his brother. He's like having this deep thought. He's like, "Man, I'm like really scared and like sad about the potential like possibility of our dad dying." And then Mikey just goes, "Pizza's here." Pizza's here.
He says, "Pizza
Hey, yo.
dude's got 30
He goes-
seconds."
He goes, "Hey, yo, the pizza here."
And then I love
And then he
the
breaks
pizza guy
his
arrives
ankles.
and hands the pizza through a grate in the ground and takes a $10 bill. And then he starts arguing with the grate in the ground about how he deserves more of a tip.
Well, it's not even the tip. He's like, he didn't pay me full price for this pizza. And
Right, it was
the guy goes, well,
$13
you
to
were
get
late.
10.
Said you were late. You were late. Pizza's late. Got to be on time because I'm a turtle.
And
Be
the guy
nice to food service workers.
That was a
Pizza Hut's
Spider-Man 2 reference. That was a Sam Raimi reference, actually.
Right.
Yeah.
That was ahead of
He
its
goes,
time.
"You're
Straight
late."
ahead.
I'm not paying for those.
Correct. All right, Bobbin, continue with the plot.
Okay.
I'm doing my best to help you here.
So Raph, guess what he does? He puts on a cute little hat and a big old trench coat.
No!
Go to a movie.
I'm going to see a movie here.
Hey, come on.
I'm
that
going
okay
to
with
see a
you?
movie. I can't go see a movie. I'm Raphael. That's how he talks in the whole movie. That's a spot on impression.
And he's like, "Is that okay with you?" And then Leonardo is like, "Yeah." And then Raph
That was a pretty good Leonardo impression.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was pretty fire.
he just leaves. And he goes to see Critters.
Which is also a New Line Cinema movie.
Yeah. He goes to see Critters while the other kids are eating with Splinter. They're eating pizza with green onions on it or something. It's
Yeah,
like a
it's
lot
like a
of cheese,
supreme.
like
yeah.
It's like a comical amount of cheese, though.
It does not look good.
Love
Yeah, but that's
So
the correct
good.
scene where they throw it up in the air, and then he's like
Leonardo was
slices
like,
it, and
Yes.
one of the slices lands on Splinter's head.
because
And
haha,
he
silly.
looks sad and disappointed.
It's the scene that before as an adult I rewatched this movie, it's the scene that I always remembered.
Really?
Right.
That's the scene that, like, before I watched this movie again as an adult, which there were several years between me being a child and me being a grown man. Now I watch this movie every day of my life. In the time between,
This is my
That's a
first
lie.
time watching this movie as an adult.
yeah.
So.
Well, that was the scene that always stuck out to me. Like, that's the scene I never forgot.
Interesting.
Right.
It is a cracked scene.
Yeah,
Leonardo
no, it does
cutting
look
the pizza with his katanas,
Yeah,
and then it
that's
landing on Master Splinter's head, and then Master Splinter going, "Oh," or whatever he says is so
Master
good.
Master Splinter, who is a awful caricature of an Asian person.
Correct. We should
Correct,
establish this
yeah.
movie is very racist.
Yeah, this movie is very racist. But it was 1990, so
It was a different
what are
time.
you gonna do?
It was 1990. Like it was still okay in Hollywood to be racist towards Asian people.
Right.
So like,
Okay. Let's move on.
Yeah, let's quickly move on.
not
from
that
this.
it's okay today. I'm not saying it is okay today. I'm
I
just
don't know.
saying.
I don't know that it was.
I don't
Then
think it was okay
just,
back then.
It was just
more
still a
normalized.
thing that they did. Yeah.
Correct. Well, I don't mean okay. I mean like it was okay for them to do it.
It was accepted.
Correct.
in-
It was
in a
not
professional
even
setting.
accepted. It was expected.
The more we
Right.
think about
All right,
it,
let's
the
move
more
on. Let's
we
move
think.
on. Let's move
Bobbin,
on.
bring down the plot.
He's out in his giant trench. Raph is out. Literally me is out in his giant trench coat.
Literally,
And
Daniel
his hat.
Savage.
He
Literally
just
Daniel.
watched Critters. He's got one sigh because he lost the other one.
Uh-huh.
And
Actually,
I
you
lost
wanna-
the sigh.
Do you want to tell us about this scene in his first encounter with Casey?
who's you? Is that me? Is that
Daniel, the guy speaking, Daniel Savage.
Oh yeah. So it's like two teenagers like mug an old lady and grab her purse, and they run by Raph. He sticks out his
His
ninja
giant
toe.
foot.
and we all sniffed our microphones because we have foot fetishes.
Bro.
So he trips them they're on the ground, and he opens his trench coat in a comical way and just points at the sigh.
He points at this weird metal device.
Yeah,
in his
that they would
coat.
have no reason to recognize,
Or
or maybe
like-
they would if they were like the ninja thugs. I guess maybe.
And they were like, "Oh God!"
I don't
and
think
then
they
went
were
away.
though. But maybe if they were like
They were
anime
random
kids, like if they were
Right.
anime nerds, they'd know.
Yeah, they could be. Maybe they just watched Akira or something.
Right.
But then yeah, they like jump over a little brick wall. He chases them. There's a little scuffle. Casey Jones shows up. He says something about Raph being a freak and how he's the one that should be dealing with these thugs.
He goes,
Then
"You're
the
clearly
thugs-
a turtle man in a trench coat."
Well, he doesn't recognize, even though he's very clear hat on, he doesn't recognize that until the hat comes off in their fight.
Yeah, and he tells him to like get some moisturizer or something.
Right.
A lot of Casey Jones lines in this aren't particularly coherent. They're just kind of random things that he occasionally says.
But he looks cool though.
He looks
He does look
cracked.
cool.
And he's a cracked character, and he's got Riz, so
Right. He does got that unspoken riz.
literally unspoken, because every word out of his mouth just gets him less and less Riz.
Correct.
He got negative Riz.
Then he
Look at that Joshua Clemens riz.
Yeah!
He throws Raphael into a trash bin, and he struggles to get up with his head, and then he runs away, and he's like, "See you later." So Raphael chases him, and
No, Raph inside the trash can is going, freak!
Yeah.
Right.
Freak! Freak!
No, I don't think he chases him. I think he just sulks off back to.
He does,
No, he
yeah.
doesn't.
But
I
from
think
inside the
he's
trash
gone by the
can, he
time.
screams, "Freak!"
No, doesn't he?
And
chase
then
him?
what
That's why
happens-
He does the roll over the taxi.
Day.
He doesn't roll over the taxi. 'cause
Yeah.
he's chasing him.
I think he's running home.
Maybe.
No, I think you're right. I think you're right. I think he may have been.
So
but
what
he's running
happens
across the street?
what
a
happens
taxi
when he-
almost hits
taxi-
him.
It doesn't matter. He rolls over
the.
the taxi, and and the taxi
the guy-
driver
the guy
says, "What was that?" And the guy in the back seat says, "I don't know. Kind of looked like a giant title in a trench coat." And
You
it's
had
the
that
best line of the
twitch.
movie, and we quote it all the time.
Yeah,
I think the taxi driver
It's
is the one that
absolute-
says-
I think it was the taxi driver that said it. It was the guy.
I think it was
that-
Robert De
It
Niro
doesn't
that-
matter.
It doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
right. It was
It was
Travis
Robert
Bickle.
De Niro. And then Martin Scorsese's the one who's like, "What was that?"
Right. Martin Scorsese's the one who wrote himself into his own movie just to say the N word.
Okay, all right.
Much like Kevin,
he did that.
much like
that is
Kevin
true.
Eastman
He
and
did
Peter
do that.
Laird when they wrote the Ninja Turtles.
Bobbin,
Bobbin, continue.
That is something that he did unequivocally.
Yeah, it's not the point. We're talking about Ninja Turtles 1990, not Taxi Driver. Bobbin, continue with the plot.
It's the same movie essentially.
So Raph is, chasing after Casey Jones, and then cut to a big shit city shot where Raph goes for his last damn, and then the whole city can hear it.
It's not the last one, but yeah, it's a
No, it is.
one.
It is.
No, it's
Yeah,
not.
yeah,
It's not the last one.
Is it? No.
There was one at the farm, maybe. No.
Yeah,
there was
no,
another
there was one. There was one at the farm when he was on the roof of
Yeah.
the farmhouse.
No, that's when he just yelled Splinter.
Yeah, you're right, but it wasn't him. It was actually Michelangelo.
Yeah, right. But there was another dam. It may have been just in like the sewer later or something.
Maybe he like whispers it when he's on the roof. Late. We'll get there. Bobbin, continue.
Okay, so what? So he chases after Casey Jones. What happens after that?
You forgot the movie, bro?
I
Forgot the
forgot.
movie.
Bro, forgot the
Favorite
movie.
gore?
I forgot the movie.
They go into.
that's
He probably
the
goes
first
back
follow
to
him
the sewer. Or
I
something.
think this is the part where we first cut
no,
to Splinter's hangout.
This is when the foot follow him back to
the
the
foot
hangout.
follow-
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right.
Yeah.
No.
That's,
The foot follow him back once he has April
no,
O'Neil.
yeah.
He saved April.
Oh,
For
yes,
free?
yeah.
April goes to the subway station to meet a contact. so he
Right,
can
yeah,
run
that's
the-
what it
the
was,
Story on
yeah.
the foot.
Yeah,
And
but
then they
we hold on, because before we're here, we've cut away several times that we didn't talk about. We've cut away to April O'Neil and her boss. Like we've introduced both of them. Her boss
true.
has a son. Her son is
Right.
Daniel, not
Correct.
Raphael, but Daniel Savage,
Right,
named
he's
Danny
just
in this
me.
movie.
Correct.
Who is part of the Foot Clan, which we'll talk about here in just a second. So him and April's boss and April are kind of talking about the story, whatever. He's kind of like, "You're crazy, April. You can't talk about this story." And she's like, "Well, it's true. I've got proof. I'm going to talk about it." He says, "Okay." Daniel steals $20 from April O'Neil. We cut to the Foot Clan's like underground club, the place that got me addicted to cigarettes when I was in middle school. And it's this little like cracked underground club. It's every kid's dream. There's gambling. There's skateboarding. It's literally the
as many
90s.
cigarettes as you want.
Yeah, the one kid goes.
Menthol.
The one kid goes, "You got cigarettes?" And he goes, "Menthol or regular?" And it's hard.
Is Sam Rockwell, who is the lead thug.
Correct. So that all happens, and we figure out that April's boss's son is a member of the Foot Clan. That's why he stole the money. He's kind of involved from here on out. And that is when April meets with the police chief to talk about the Foot Clan murders and thieving and whatnot. And in doing so, he says, "Hey, quit. There's no ninjas." And she's like, "You know about the ninjas. You just don't want to talk about the ninjas." He's
You
like,
don't
"Hey,
want to
quit."
accept the ninjas.
Correct. And he goes, "Hey, quit talking about the ninjas." And she goes, "Fine." And then she leaves and goes to talk about the ninjas. Right. And then in the alleyway is when she gets, or in the subway station to meet with some person for proof about the ninjas. That's when the Foot Clan shows up to attack April O'Neil, and she's saved by Raphael.
They go, "Hey, instead of giving you information about the Foot, what if we killed you and shoved you in front of a subway train?"
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, no, Raphael was the one who almost shoved her in front of a subway train.
So yeah, then Raph comes in and he saves her by firing all the Foot Clan, and then he picks her up and jumps in front of a subway train. But it's all part of the plan, you know. He jumps from the subway train to run down the sewers to get back to the hideout, where he brings this woman who wakes up and immediately asks, "Am I dead?"
She says, "Why is there a rat?"
First she sees the giant rat Splinter, and she jumps up on the couch and does the comical screech.
Yeah, the comical woman screaming because there's a mouse around.
Right, yeah.
Which I thought was a sexist trope until I got married.
Wow.
Man.
Wow.
Good thing even your wife wouldn't listen to our podcast.
He knows he's safe.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she screams and she goes, "Am I dead? No, I must be dreaming. You're the rat I saw earlier," which they set up. She did see a rat earlier.
She saw a rat.
She goes,
like that.
It ran into the sewer, so that's why I'm here. But you giant talking turtles with masks, I don't understand this part at all. So Master Splinter like kind of explains the overall like story, the origin story of the turtles. They were baby turtles. They fell into soup, radioactive soup. They become these talking turtles, and he goes, "I fell into the sewer with 6 baby turtles." And it's I love the delivery. It's so nostalgic for some reason, like the way he's talking about him. And he goes, "And nothing could prepare me for what happened next." And then it's little baby Michelangelo who goes, "Pizza, pizza, 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 pizza." And then it cuts to another scene and he goes, "Radical, radical, 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 radical." And then nothing else matters. He teaches them karate. He names them Leonardo, Leonardo, Michelangelo, Raphael, and Donatello. And then it cuts back and she goes, "I'm not dreaming, am I?" And Master Splinter goes, "I'm afraid not." And that's the end of that scene.
Raph is picking his teeth with his side.
Yeah, he's picking his teeth with his side. As they introduce them with the names, they all have like the so perfect us introductions. I'm like, "Yeah, what's up?" Like, look at me. And Josh is like, like
Elvis. Just say Novus.
No, Josh Donatello does it like he's a Discord kitten. Like he's looking for his Discord kitten. Daniel's picking his teeth with his sigh, and Aitesam
does absolutely nothing for my self confidence.
Aitesam just points at himself and smiles.
Me.
He's like, "Me, that's me." Yeah, I think he actually says that. I'm pretty sure Michelangelo goes, "That's me."
He goes, "Me, let's go."
Yeah.
Bobby, continue with the plot after this moment, if you can.
Also, something to point out because we're here, and this is when we started talking about it. Uh, just like there's a lot of things to note about the suits in this movie, but Michelangelo is just so adorable in this scene.
Yeah.
His
Yes.
eyes are so big.
Dang.
They gave Michelangelo
Hey,
slightly
Bobbin.
bigger
Hey,
eyes.
Bobbin, thanks.
Hey, you're welcome.
They could have cheaped out, right? They could have made one mold for all of the
Yeah.
turtle suits, and they could have all looked the same with different color masks. But they don't. They all have different head shapes. They all have different eye sizes. Raphael has kind of this like very straightforward, serious, or Raphael has this very like scowly, angry look. Leonardo has a very straightforward and serious look.
I don't know. I don't know
Michelangelo,
if all of them have like a height difference, but I noticed that Mikey is
He's
like
shorter.
is like shorter.
yeah, Mikey's the
than
shortest.
Yeah.
And Donatello looks like very like inquisitive and thoughtful, and so they all have like personality traits that come across.
That are just displayed in their designs.
Yeah,
It's
and-
so
and-
cool.
It's
unlike
also
the cartoon and the comic, if you set this to black and white, you would not be able to tell them apart outside of their weapons. Or you wouldn't with the cartoon or the comic, but you do
Right.
that with this movie, and you can. Like, you can look at each individual one and know who is who. And also the animatronics of the mouth are really cool. The only problem with the suits is when they're fighting, it looks very goofy, but we'll get there in just a moment.
Also, something that they do is really well is that, like, in the background of every scene, they don't just have them standing like idly by. They have them doing things that are in line with their personalities.
Correct.
And it just adds to like the world just that little bit more.
Well, this
Yeah.
movie is very realistic feeling for giant turtles and trench coats. It's like the perfect level
For how like goofy of a concept it is, and even how goofy some of the execution is, it's still like it's so serious and genuine in how it feels.
Yeah, well, that's what makes this movie so, both all of the funny bits and all of the like exciting fun bits all hinge on this fact that this movie takes the concept of what it is very seriously. It's a bunch of it's the craziest, goofiest concept you have ever heard of, played as seriously as you can. And it makes all of those bits funny, but it also makes them very heartfelt and enjoyable and fun. And all of that is based on the costume design, really, if you think about it. The costume design could have gone super cheap. They could have even, for a movie like this, they could have animated them in like Roger Rabbit style. Like, they didn't have to take the time to build realistic looking Ninja Turtles costumes.
They could have just painted 4 muscly men green, and then
I mean, genuinely, like they could, right? Like,
Yeah.
they didn't have to take the care that they took to make these turtle men into giant turtle men, but they did, and it pays off. It really does work.
So after April is having her chat with the kids and Splinter,
Kids.
they're kids.
Yeah, they are.
April takes them to her apartment, which is inside this old like shop, like by this old shop.
It's her. I think it's. I don't know if it was said then, but it was said later that her dad's like
Yeah.
antique shop or
Yeah.
something.
yeah, twice owned. I think is the name, something like that.
It was
Second chance.
second hand
Secondhand.
or
Yeah.
No, it
something
was
like
it was Second Chance Antiques.
I don't think no, it wasn't Second Chance because I would have thought of this thrift store near me called Last Chance. It was what was it?
It doesn't
Second
matter.
time around.
for
Second
sure.
time around.
It doesn't
It
really
was second-
matter.
It was second time around is what it
Yeah,
was.
Anyway, so April is taking them to her apartment, and she's like, "Oh, I don't have anything to offer but frozen pizza." And then Michelangelo comically shoots out of the store.
goofiest cartoon
Shoots
sound
up, and there's
effect
like
ever.
a boing, 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 boing.
Yeah, it's like a little.
Yeah. We'll talk about the sound effects here in a moment, because I do really want to mention that towards the end of the discussion.
So they kind of hard cut to them in the apartment. They're having a hoot, they're having a ball,
They are having a holler.
and it's very fun because they're just like
Mikey's doing a Rocky impression.
Yeah.
it's very fun. Yeah.
Yo, Adrian. You dirty rat.
It's great.
winning is done.
It's very charming and it's very childish.
Yeah.
It's very teenager.
Yeah, it feels like teenagers, which makes it creepier that April O'Neil is hanging around with 4 teenage turtles, but that's all right. We won't talk about the creepiness of April and the teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles relationship.
Like,
We just won't talk about it.
nonetheless, you know, while we're seeing all this, we're getting intercut with the gang hideout of all the hobo kids, where we see.
We don't know that the kids are homeless. The one kid we do know who's a member of this gang has a home.
Right,
Yeah,
sure.
they're all just they're like runaways though.
Yeah,
Like,
runaways.
Yeah.
And
They're
this
strays.
is when we see this this
Stray
giant.
kids.
This is when we see this giant enforcer come through and like stop the kids from fighting and doing all these things.
Yeah, right.
And he introduces Shredder, who is just Darth Vader.
Just
Yeah.
like straight up.
like straight up.
I know.
Darth
I know.
Vader.
Other people have mentioned this before. He is Darth Vader. Like it's a blatant Darth Vader knockoff.
Yeah. No, it's pretty clear.
Yeah, and then he even says, "I am your father."
Yeah, like he
Like,
steals
literally,
Darth
yeah.
Vader's line.
But yeah, he's basically indoctrinating the kids, and he's like, you know, you're part of my family now, so you're gonna kill people for me when I ask you to.
Yeah, that's what family's all about.
Yeah,
Which
they're
is
just
the next thing-
stormtroopers.
It's the next
Right.
scene Raph going out to have a fight again.
No.
Maybe.
This
Not yet.
the next scene is when they come back home from the
Oh,
antique
no.
shop and they realize that Master Splinter has been kidnapped.
Yes, yeah.
Yes,
And then,
they
then
come back and the
go back
hideout's all
to-
trashed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Then they
sewers.
go back to April's and Leonardo comically says Splinter.
And he looks so sad.
Yeah, like
He
it
just
just
goes-
goes. It looks,
That was Mikey.
Was it Mikey?
Yeah, it was Mikey.
yeah.
And it's April opens the door and they go, she goes, "Guys, what's wrong?" And Mikey goes, "Splinter." And
It's so sad.
it's so sad because of his big goofy eyes. But they all look sad, even Leonardo, who's given no character in this movie, and I'm a little upset about it.
And we find out that Splinter has been taken by the Foot Clan. He's been taken by Shredder, who has a personal connection that we will find out at some point.
Yeah.
You mean Darth Vader, but yeah.
Right.
Darth
Right.
Vader kidnaps
You mean
Obi-Wan
your
Kenobi.
father.
It's the scene from New Hope where Darth Vader has Obi-Wan Kenobi on the Death Star.
Yeah, sure.
Right. And then the turtles are naturally like, we need to get Splinter back. So they talk about devising a plan. But I think Raph just goes to find.
This
Casey
is
Jones.
when
Yeah, so they're watching. They're watching the news
Raph
report.
yeah. Well, this is the Raph and Leo like little
Yeah,
right.
me and
Right,
Daniel
they
have
did,
an
right.
argument
Correct.
where I tell Daniel that we don't need him because he's not important for the podcast, and he
Yeah.
says, "Oh, you think you can do it without me? You think you can do this without me? I'm gonna go up to the roof and kick the air for a little bit," and then
Right.
he
I'm gonna
does.
say damn again.
Yeah, he does.
During this time, April is on the news giving a report where she goes, "Look, I know we've seen a rise in crime recently. It's because there's a ninja clan that's doing all of this."
Right.
And rightfully so, eventually her boss goes, "Yeah, you're fired."
Well, that's not why he fired her.
Well, no, it was. It's
No, he
'cause-
fired her because the police guy asked
Oh.
asked
Well, but
her
it was
boss.
because of that. It was because
Yes.
he said not
Well,
to
the
talk
pe-
about
the-
it.
yeah, the
He
police-
gives her a warning and then later fires her.
But it's
Right.
not because she sounded crazy, is what I'm trying to imply.
It's just because she
because
talked.
it's
It's 'cause
because
she
the
was
police
right.
chief paid off the news anchor not to talk about
about
the-
ninjas.
about the story because he couldn't figure it out. Like he couldn't solve it. So there's some blackmail going on between the police chief and the guy who runs the news station because his son is involved in this Foot Clan and gets caught. But April talks about it anyway. And Raphael's up on the roof kicking the air. Casey Jones is watching from another building. Cut to some cartoons.
They're watching like a tortoise in the hare cartoon.
Yes,
And the
Josh
tortoise is
and
going slow and
Aitesam are watching the tortoise in the hare. And Aitesam, would you like to say what you say in this while this cartoon's going on, or do you even know?
I don't know what Aitesam knows.
What do I say?
Ninja kick the damn rabbit.
It's my favorite line from the whole movie.
No, that's good.
Just ninja kick.
That is a meme.
Right, he's literally you.
He's literally you. But anyway, so the Foot Clan see Raphael kicking the air on the roof of this apartment, as does Casey Jones. And the Foot Clan, who is actually not going after the turtles at all, but going after April for speaking out on the news, goes to her apartment. They fight Raphael on the roof. He breaks through the roof into her apartment. All the turtles are fighting. This is when I first pointed out to everyone, except for I'm assuming Bobbin knew, the masks. The specific fighting masks. The turtles have animatronics in their face. They're very expensive. You can't afford to damage them. They're very, very good. They move their mouths. They're heavy. You can't afford to damage them during fight scenes, and the actors can't wear them during fight scenes. So they have much cheaper masks made for the fight scenes in which their mouths are in permanent grimaces. If you're watching on YouTube, the thumbnail, which is the poster of the movie where they're pushing out of the sewer grate, has them in those masks. Those are the masks that are featured in that poster. They're in permanent grimaces, and they do not move, and they do not change. And it makes the fight scenes of this movie so very funny. But anyway, the Ninja Turtles...
The Turtles are fighting off.
Raph gets kicked in. He gets nocked unconscious. The other three are fighting off the foot.
And they're losing. They're overwhelmed.
Not only unconscious, bro is in a coma.
Right.
Yeah, dude is slumped.
And then they're also losing because they're overwhelmed by 100 Foot Clan soldiers. Until Casey Jones busts down the door.
He what's, Josh?
He busts down the door.
He busts down. He busts downs.
He busts downs. He busts down the door and then starts fighting with them, and it doesn't really do much because he's also just one guy.
I mean, it allows them to escape.
Right, he holds them off long enough for them to grab Raph and then.
And this is when we find out that in a pretty cracked way that April got fired. I don't remember
such a cool shot.
Yeah, but it was like her answering machine board on fire. And it goes off. Her boss says, "Yeah, you're fired. Sorry, I told you not to talk about that, and you did it." So,
and then it drops on top of a Foot Clan soldier.
But there was a line he said something. He was like, "I'm gonna have to you or something," and then the thing drops and hits the guy on the head.
Yeah,
it was very funny. I remember chuckling at that.
But then they get away in a van, and they go to. I think April says it's her old home.
It's like her family home or something.
Yeah,
some little farmhouse, right?
I'm sure they elaborate on that more in the comic, where it is from, but they don't really talk about it much in the movie.
But yeah, so
she says a couple times that it's no matter how long it's been, this still feels like home. Yeah.
It's Casey Jones, April, and the Turtles, while Raph is in a coma and Leo watches over him.
Raph is in a coma, face down in a bathtub, dying while he's drowning to death.
Right.
Which I said this while we were watching. It always stuck out to me as a kid that they put him face down in the bathtub. And at first it just seems like, all right, that's just where they put him to rest. But then April comes up and scoops water out of the bathtub and puts it on his back. And I guess it's because they're turtles, right? So turtles live in the water, but turtles also aren't they don't have gills. They're not fish.
Yeah.
They still breathe air.
They breathe air. Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know what that's all about, but it always stressed me out as a kid because I thought they were drowning him.
They were waterboarding him.
And it's not the first turtle that gets waterboarded in this movie. In the previous fight scene, they dip Donatello in the water.
Oh, yeah.
And then he spits the little stream of water out at the guy. Yeah. Anyway, back to the farmhouse.
They're all kind of training. Well, I say they're training the farmhouse
bit. Yeah.
The farmhouse bit's the best part of the movie.
It's so fun.
I say they're training. April sketches the turtles outside of Raph, and Donnie and Mikey.
Raph and Mikey don't get a sketch.
Raph gets a sketch. There's a sketch of the bathtub. Is there? No, I'm thinking of Leo.
No, it's Leo passed out watching him in the chair.
Right.
Did they not all get I thought they all got a sketch.
No,
except for Mikey.
Didn't.
Yeah, but I thought Raph got a sketch.
I think Raph did.
I don't think so.
I can't remember what Raph was.
If he had a sketch, he didn't have the same cracked transition from the sketch to the actual scene as the other.
You may be right. I remember Donnie's was in the truck.
Yeah, Donnie's was in the truck. Leo's was him slumped over because he's.
I love Donnie's.
Yeah, Donnie's.
I like them all genuinely.
Yeah,
It's
all two of them.
Yeah, all two of them. Well, Casey Jones gets one.
Did
I
Casey
think.
Jones get one?
Yeah, Casey was the first one.
No, Donnie was the first one because that's the one she was.
But she's talking about Casey while she's sketching. She's like, because Casey, he'd almost be cute if he wasn't such of a jerk all
Right.
the time.
Yeah,
But I don't know what his sketch was. It doesn't
Right.
matter. It doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't matter. But the at this point, Raph wakes up
Yeah.
and
Leo pretends. He pretends like he wasn't sad, but then apologize. He pulls a me and he goes, "Look, bro, I'm so sorry about all the things I said to you. What I didn't mean." And Leo, which or Raph, which is Daniel, goes, "Leo, don't." Which is such a Daniel thing to say. They're us. They're literally us.
this is also when Donnie comes in and says, "This is a Kodak moment" or something.
Oh
like
yeah,
that.
he goes,
and that's
"That's
when
a
you can see his
Kodak
mouth."
moment," and then you can see the little human mouth through the animatronic mouth.
Yeah, he laughs, and you can see the human mouth of the stuntman inside him through his animatronic mouth, and it's
Yeah,
horrifying.
although even all of that aside, like that was the best like display of the animatronic face.
Oh, yeah.
'Cause he he does like a little quirky smile where he bites his lip.
He's got the bro goes in. Oh, we just got copyright stricken.
I think following this,
Yeah,
Casey
let's speed it up just a little bit.
Casey and April have a little moment outside on a bench.
Yeah, the bench falls in. It's
Oh,
super
yeah,
cool
cracked.
because it's definitely an unscripted scene that the actor who plays Casey Jones just plays off.
And
But the
Elias
turtles
Mann.
start training together at this. Like this is the moment where they're starting to get like back. They start training together. Whatever. There's some scenes that are not Raphael, but are voiced over by the Raphael
yeah.
actor, so that it looks like Raphael, like where he's punching a punching bag and then he screams "Splinter" from the roof. They're actually
Which was a
Michelangelo.
hard ass shot of him
Yes.
standing on the barn roof.
They're
Went
actually
crazy.
Michelangelo, but they voiced over them with Raphael because there was a deleted plot in like that they filmed for the movie where it was actually Michelangelo who took Splinter's death the hardest, which is why he's crying later
Honestly,
on in the Force
that
Ghost scene.
would have worked really well for how like lighthearted he was taking it in the Donnie scene.
I think
Well,
that's
that's
probably why they
definitely
set it up
not-
that way.
That's the premise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles comic, isn't it? Where they all die except Mikey, and now he's dark and serious.
Yeah.
Oh, the Last
Um,
Ronin, yeah.
So anyway, so they're on the farm, they're all training. Leo is out meditating, and he runs back in because he heard Splinter reach out through the force.
He reaches out through the force because this movie.
This movie ripped off Star Wars in more ways than some Star Wars movies.
Then
Yeah.
Spaceballs.
Right.
So they all go out, they sit by the fire, and they meditate. Donatello brings marshmallows, and it's very fun. And then they meditate, and they see an
literally,
actual
Josh.
Force Ghost Splinter.
Yeah,
And Splinter says,
Well, no, they don't
No,
see it.
son.
We see it, but
yeah,
all of
we
their eyes
see
are
it, but
closed.
their eyes are closed. So it was just in case they peek. That's the only reason
Yeah.
Splinter appeared as Force Ghost. But he says, "My sons, you must come back. Do not run from who you are supposed to be."
Don't edit that out.
Well, it sounds
We
bad,
can't
but
edit
that's
it.
how he sounds in the movie.
Right,
Like
he does
I
talk.
like I know it sounds bad, but that's actually how he sounds in the movie. So they come back to New York. Actually, it's the coolest shot in the movie. They're all four standing there, like in their own poses, talking to April and Casey, and they go, and Leo goes, "It's time to go back."
I know for a fact that's how Bobbin feels whenever he's doing a cosplay shoot, and he's got like he's getting the coolest fucking shot you've ever seen, and that's what he's thinking in his head. I know it.
He's like,
One day-
this is the hardest shot in the movie.
When I fulfill my dream of cosplaying Donatello, I mean April O'Neil. I will-
Right.
But yeah, so they go back to New York. They ride in the old truck that Donnie and Casey were fixing earlier.
Love
They go
that.
back-
Love that for them.
They go
Yeah,
back to the sewer.
Such a cool truck too.
They find Daniel, aka Danny, aka April's boss's son, hiding out in the sewers. So they find him, and then he, while they're all asleep, runs away, and he goes back to the headquarters, basically to free Splinter. So he goes and he talks to Splinter. Splinter breaks down a little more of his backstory. He's like, "Hey, And this is where this is honestly, if I'm being honest, this is the part of the movie that I wish they would change. Like, I wish they had changed this from the comic.
No, I love it so much.
It's so goofy, and it's so out of place.
It's so goofy, but
I love it so much.
Which I know I shouldn't be saying that something in a movie with giant talking turtles is goofy and out of place, but with the tone of this movie, it really does feel that way. Basically, instead of like the cartoon where Splinter was Haramo Yoshi, whatever his name is. His last name's Yoshi, like the dinosaur from Mario.
Correct.
So Yoshi, who turns into a rat when exposed to the ooze. He is the pet rat of this same martial artist,
right?
Who learns how to do karate or martial arts from watching his owner from his cage.
Yeah,
and
this normal rat,
ooze, not mutant, very normal rat,
very normal rat, just doing karate in like it was like a little bird cage. Like it was
so goofy. And then so Splinter breaks in, kills his owner. Splinter jumps out and scratches his face, and then runs away, and apparently gets to New York somehow, where he raises three baby turtles.
Shredder chops off one of his ears.
Yeah. Shredder chops off one of his ears. Yeah. So the kid hears this story and he learns a lot about family.
Like, real quick, how are you like this like trained like ninja assassin and you're fighting a rat and is cut off one of his ears?
And the rat wins. How are you fighting a real rat? And the rat and twice. It happens twice, but we'll get there.
Well, once it was mutant rat. Yeah. So I'll give him that one.
So Danny, April's boss's son, learns about the true meaning of family and tries to break Splinter out with the help of Casey Jones, who followed him to this facility. So they go to break Splinter out. They get caught by Splinter and the other guy who doesn't speak throughout the movie.
Right, he just grunts a lot.
Yeah, he just goes. He sounds like my dog. But anyway, so I don't really know what happens here. I don't know how they get out of there. I know what happens after they get out of there, but I don't know how they get out. So somebody pick up for me for just a second.
I mean, they just start fighting everyone. That's like the general gist.
Oh yeah, because Casey Jones, he falls on the box that's got golf clubs in it, and they fight everybody. They get out, and then they go to this building. The turtles are also at this building. They're fighting foot ninjas, right? They're fighting the feet
for free.
I forgot Aitesam was here. They're fighting the feet, and they're winning. Funny. They're winning, right? Yeah. Although they have the stupid grimace masks on for most of the fight, so they're winning until all of a sudden Splinter shows up, and then they fight Splinter one by one. Bobbin really likes this fight. I also like this fight up until the very, very ending.
I like this fight even with the very, very.
I think it would have been
little
cooler.
Man.
I think it would have been cooler had there been that moment where they were like, we should fight him together, as opposed to them fighting him one by one and that not having any payoff. Had there been that like cheesy, corny moment where they were like, let's just fight him together. I think that would have
Michael
sold.
Bay's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle.
I think that would have sold.
Much better movie.
Right. I think that would have sold this end fight on the rooftop.
So it's night. They're on the roof. Shredder is there, like just standing menacingly, and it's very cool, very creepy. And I remember this scene being
because he's Darth Vader.
Because he's Darth Vader, and I remember the scene being very like almost spooky because you see Shredder and the music just kind of cuts.
Yeah, it's very intense feeling.
And it's got the same effect. The Shredder helmet has the same effect that the Goblin mask from the Raimi Spider-Man movies has, where you can see his mouth moving through the mask, which adds this like creep factor to it that you don't get from an enclosed mouth.
And I don't know, like to me in this fight, like it starts like very normal and it's kind of, you know, goofy and they're goofing. But they're like the fight as it goes on, like you feel stakes and you feel like these turtles are getting injured and you're like, there's they could die. and you're like, oh my god. I remember being scared at this scene, and it might just be nostalgia, but just like the grittiness of the movie really helps here. It's like
Yes.
at its peak here because the fight is gritty, the visuals are gritty, the turtles are like yelling in emotion for Splinter as they're
And cursing.
fighting Shredder.
Yeah.
And it's great. I think
Michelangelo
it's
gets his only curse word in the movie in this scene.
yeah.
That's a big part of the movie. The director was actually fired at the end of it all because he made like a too dark of a movie for them to market as a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, which is why there's so many weird sound effects and stuff, and like why Mikey shut up and went wing when he heard the word pizza.
I remember you said the one like when the second bald henchman who has no lines was like beating on all the kids. Originally he was supposed to kill one of them.
Right.
That's
one
great.
like he punches and then his friend
And
runs
like
over
it shows him like clearly like unconscious or dead on the ground, like not moving,
but then
eyes are closed.
you hear him talk
Like,
from off camera.
off screen you hear him go, "I'm all right."
Yeah, it cuts back to the big grunt man, and his friend goes, "Are you all right?" And you hear his friend go,
Yeah.
We'll get there in a second. Let's get through this final fight, and then we'll talk about the sound effects and stuff, because I do want to go into that in detail. Let's get through the plot first.
And then Obi-Wan Kenobi, Splinter appears, and he's like, I'm the final boss. So Shredder runs up and goes.
Well, hold on.
Yeah, well, you missed the setup for that because there's
a bit of stuff before
Shredder like has Leo pinned with his little spear, staff, sword thing, whatever it is.
And he gets all the other turtles to give up their weapons.
And he's got the grimace mask on.
Yeah,
and he's just going.
It's like it focuses on that, and it just looks like he's got like a big old like,
it looks like
forced grin. It's very silly. Looking,
it's so out of place. Yeah.
So they all throw their weapons. They all go into the streets of New York, other than one of Mikey's nunchucks, which gets hooked onto the little like fire escape ladder.
Yeah, and then Splinter appears to save the day, and Leo rolls out of the way. It's
after Casey Jones looking over his shoulder to talk to Splinter, and he goes, "Hey, yo, Splint."
Where'd he go?
And then that's when he appears. Yeah, but anyway, yeah.
And then they have a show off, and he's like, I'm the big boss." Splinter charges. Shredder charges at Splinter.
Shredder takes his mask off first to reveal that he's got the scratches.
Yeah. So there's a lot of S names that are long, and I forget them.
They're just
a lot of S names ending with ER. It's a lot to keep up with.
It's a lot to remember.
Yo!
He charges them with his spear, sword, stabby thing, and
right.
Splinter grabs the nunchucks and like wraps them around it and flips Shredder over the edge so that he's hanging off of the building.
Yeah, which it was very anticlimactic. It was very sick and like well done.
It was cool.
Like that one.
I don't know. It was cool. It was well done. Splinter looks like he's being held up by a broomstick.
Yeah, no, he looks like just like a little mannequin.
And it was always disappointing to me as a kid that the Ninja Turtles weren't the ones to defeat the bad guy. It was the old rat no one cares about.
Right.
Like
beat him in the later ones. It's fine.
Yeah, right. Well, it ends with Shredder pulling out a knife from his back to try and stab Splinter with, but Splinter just like grabs it in midair.
It's not even that. It's in grabbing the knife. Shredder slips from. Like he slips off the side.
Yeah, I thought it was Splinter went to grab or block the knife.
No. Splinter doesn't kill Shredder. Shredder dies because he goes to grab the knife.
He's an idiot.
Yeah, and then he falls to his death. And then Casey Jones turns on the dump truck and squashes him.
Yeah, he just crushes him.
And then stands on top of the dump truck and goes, "Yo, look what I did! I squashed him!"
More than that, he hits the lever and he just goes, "Oops!"
Yeah. Yeah,
right,
and then
goes, garbage day.
And then it cuts back to the roof, and this is the best part of the movie where they're testing out catchphrases. And Michelangelo's like, "What about pizza time?" And then Leonardo's like, "I don't know. I like Wicked." And then Donnie's like, "Bodacious." And then it cuts to Splinter.
It's totally tubular.
Donnie is
I had
like,
to get that one in.
bitchin'.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. And then it cuts to Splinter, and Splinter goes, "I have always liked Cowabunga." And then the music starts and it goes, and then he goes, "I made a funny," and then the hardest rap song ever comes on, and that's the end of the movie.
It is called TURTLE Power.
Right, correct. It's in my playlist already, Josh. You didn't have to tell me. That is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the first 1990s movie. I love this movie, and what I love about this movie is not just the plot. The plot is fine. The characterization is great. The acting is fantastic. The special effects are great. The thing I love is the tone.
Yeah.
And hearing what Josh is saying, which is a speculation I had while watching it, that was an accident. This movie will never happen again because this movie didn't happen on purpose. This movie was shot to be way too dark, and it wouldn't have worked because it would have been too dark. Kids would have hated it. Parents would have hated it. It would have been.
Yeah, but then in them trying to overcompensate for that, they found somehow found like the perfect balance.
Yes, and it's perfect. It's this perfect mix of this movie is really dark and gritty and real, which works and makes it funnier in the fact that they're giant talking turtles and the rat's being held up by a broomstick. But mixed with the goofy sound effects and mixed with the extra dialogue that they reshot and added in and the ADR and mixed with all of those things, like it works so perfectly. And there will never be another movie like this ever.
It's so weird that. Okay, you go ahead.
No, go on.
I was saying like it's so weird that they made a Ninja Turtles movie in 1990, and it ended up being like this released in theaters to kids, and it's dark.
Yeah,
like, that's weird. Like I know the comics are very dark, but it's like
crushed to death.
It's just
the villain gets crushed. But this is also the same era in which, parents let their kids see RoboCop. Like it was no holds barred in the late 80s, early 90s for these movies.
Well, I was going to say this. Like you hear the phrase get thrown about a lot, but this movie is the essence of lightning in a bottle.
Yeah, very much so.
Like,
for sure.
Every single element coming together by pure chance and luck to create something that holds up to today.
It's the era it came out with, mixed with the studio reshoots of what they filmed, mixed with the director making something that was way too dark, mixed with Jim Henson not understanding what movie he was working on when he made it, mixed with the popularity of the Turtles and the money they were able to get. This was up until, a couple years later. For a couple years, this movie held the title of... And I don't mean the kind in a trench coat. Yeah, this movie held the title of the highest grossing the highest grossing independent film of all time. And it's like, it's because of this lightning in a bottle, perfect tone that they were able to create. And we won't see a Ninja Turtles movie like this again. As sad as that is, the next Ninja Turtles movie will not be like this one, and probably rightfully so. Like, you probably couldn't release this today and do it well.
What is the next Ninja Turtle movie? I know Seth
Rogen.
It's the Rogen one, yeah.
Seth Rogen one, yeah.
Is the Seth Rogen one live action or is it animated?
It's CG animated, yeah.
It's going to be a Spider-Verse.
Yeah, it's going to be Spider-Verse type.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Okay,
which will be great, and it'll be fun, but it won't
that'll
be like this
but
movie.
as good as that may be, it'll never be this movie.
Right, well,
and not even in terms of quality, but
be.
Just in terms of
just the feel of it.
Like Bobbin said, this movie released in 1990, and I'd go as far to say this is the Ninja Turtles. Like when you think Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, you think of literally anything to do with this movie. Like whether it's the suit, the Splinter, the atmosphere and vibe that it has. Like this is the perfect Ninja Turtles movie.
It came out right before parents started caring what their children are going to watch, which we'll get into a little bit next week when we watch Secret of the Ooze, which parents cared a whole lot more. And apparently parents didn't really like this movie. And we'll talk about that a little bit next week too. But I don't know. There's just something about this movie. It's streaming on Netflix here in America. I don't know about if it's streaming on
Netflix tomorrow.
Never mind. It is not streaming
It
on
is
Netflix.
no longer streaming on Netflix.
Here
You
in
missed your
America.
window.
You missed your chance. But it really is just this, like, it's one of my favorite comic book movies of all time. Because of this perfect tone, but also because of the way it adapts the source material, changes it for a way that fits the modern audience, but still has that heart. It's the thing we're always saying as nerds that we wish comic book movies could do well, is like adapt the source material, but also freshen it up and make it attractive for the audience. But it's also timeless in this weird way where it's like it's not overabundant on its special effects, and it's very 90s, but it's not so 90s that you can't watch it in 2023 and find enjoyment out of it. Like, I don't know. It's one of the best comic book movies, I think. And Bobbin, we were talking about that earlier. It's in both of our top 5 at least.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, I don't know. All right, final thoughts, everyone. Bobbin, you go first.
Love it. I think for what it is, it's nearly perfect. I don't think you could ask for much more out of this movie. And if you did, it would be very small. I think it sets out to achieve.
It would be changing Splinter's origin story, and that's it.
No, that's cracked.
I think this movie is wonderful and terribly underrated, and people need to give it another watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you don't like this movie, you're probably relating this movie with its sequel.
Yeah, that's true, because it's very different. It's a very different.
It's not the same at all. It might as well not even be the same franchise. But all right, Josh, go ahead. Final thoughts.
Yeah, big fan. It reached every kind of goal that I had set in my mind for it. It was a lot of fun. I love the vibe. I love the look. I love all of the movie. I will probably end up watching it again. It is just so much fun in every way, and I would not change the Splinter origin for the world.
All right, Dan, go ahead.
I loved every single thing about this movie. The only thing, in my opinion, that could have made it better is if Raph and Mikey had gotten quirky little sketches done by April O'Neil as well. But outside of that, perfect movie. And maybe if they had gone through with the Mikey being the sad one, but I get why they didn't, because
they cut it down for time. I will say I would not be upset by more time on the farmhouse. Like, that would be the thing that I think would make this movie a perfect comic book movie, is had they gone through with the Mikey being the sad one thing and spent more time on the farmhouse. But yeah, I agree with you there. Aitesam, final thoughts.
His ass did not want.
What'd he say?
Aitesam, say it again.
I fucked up.
All right, nice final thoughts, Aitesam.
You're welcome.
Final thoughts, Dalton.
Yeah, well, I mean, I love it. I love this movie. I watch it regularly because it's one of my favorite comic book movies. I love all of the turtles and their characterization, but I also love the heart that is in this movie and just the genuine fun that comes with watching these turtles interact on screen. I can't wait for next week, though, because I also love Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2: The Secret of the Ooze. Thank you for joining us for Turtle Sweep.
Hold on, no.
We're kicking off season 3 of Semi Pro. Bobbin, you've got a few seconds left on the outro. They made a third one. Bobbin, hit it.
This has been the Semi Pro podcast with.
This has
Bobbin,
been the
Boy,
Pro
Bobbin,
Podcast.
And Dalton and Josh and Daniel Savage, and then Aitesam sometimes.
Yeah, I sometimes, because
that's it. Goodbye. Love you so much. Thank you.
Have
Goodbye.
so much fun. Eat
And a Happy New Year.